you have this amazing ability to market in the comic book world, and how did you kind of get started marketing in comics?
That's a good question. In some way, I've been selling comics my entire adult life. When I was 21 or so, I was I just moved to California for a job, and I wasn't crazy about the job. So I had just said to my then girlfriend, now ex-wife, I said, I think I'm ready to move on. And that week, the guy who ran the comic book shop that I shopped at every week, said, do you want to manage a comic book store? And yeah, so that really, saying yes to that is what led to this path that I'm on. So I've been selling comics for a long time.
I love it.
Yeah.
And at what point did you go from being a store manager to switching over to being in the retail side?
So I was a store manager for about 5 years, and during that period I also had to do a little bit of freelancing. So I wrote a little bit. I wrote for like the LA Times for a little while, and I also did, I was a freelance sales rep for Fantagraphics books in the LA County area. And then, during the real estate market the way it was, we sold a house and then bought a house, which gave us some money to play with, and so we bought a comic book store, the comic book store that I worked at, and ran it for 10 years. Won the 2008 Eisner Spirit of Retail Award.
That's amazing.
Thank you. And it's but that year also, 2008, was a big recession, and our sales went down dramatically. And I had to figure out how to pay the rent. So I went out and found a job working in publishing, and using the contacts I had as a publisher, as a retailer, started talking to publishers, and Philip Sablik actually hired me in at Top Cow. And then that led, I was there for about a year or so, and then that led to a few freelance gigs, doing other work for different publishers. That led to Valiant finding me, and that was a freelance job. It started as a freelance job, it ended as a vice president of sales. So,
wow, that's crazy. It just you worked your way up there, and testament to how amazing you are at marketing. And I think it goes a lot with your personality and your personal relationship when you talk to retailers, and you've been on the other side of that coin, so hey, listen, this is what it's going to be, and you know how to make sure that they're going to stay in the green, because that's what you want to see for the people you care about and your customers.
Right, and the thing about the comic book retailers is they do tend to get, can I say shit? They get a lot of shit. There are about somewhere between 1,800 and 2,500 of them. We don't know for sure because it's hard to define what a comic book store really is. But we know they're out there, and we know there are some bad ones. And by bad ones, I mean, places that don't feel like other retail places. They feel like the person who's running it. And the person who might be running it might be kind of crude. It might be kind of dirty, and those kinds of things. But he's a guy who put his money and life on the line to sell comics, which I always respect, even when it's someplace I wouldn't want to spend a lot of time. But I would say that the vast majority of the comics that are sold in the world are sold in places that are run by people who their shop also looks like them. I mean, it's clean, it's inviting, it's well organized, and these people single-handedly saved comics in America. I mean, we have a really rocky history in this country with comic books. You look at places in Europe and in Asia, and they have embraced comics as a culture and as an art form. We did not for a long time. It's really easy to forget that when you see how many incredible movies are being made and how much comics is defining pop culture now. It's really easy to forget that during the really from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, for decades, comics was, the gutter of culture.
Yeah, it was a throwaway article.
Exactly. And these people, these comic book retailers, even those guys who you don't really necessarily want to hang out in their store, they saved it, right? They kept it going. and that they put their lives and their livelihoods on the line in order to keep it going. So I have in my career always tried to not only respect that, but to be grateful for that, because they really are the reason that we're still here. And then the reason we're still pushing. I mean, you look at publishers that do a lot of business outside of the comic book retail world, maybe in the bookstore market or in digital, or I don't know, any of the other myriad of places that comics are now being sold. There's still, the majority of their sales still come from comic book stores. And so we still need to find ways to not only respect that, but to embrace it and involve them in the process. And that can be a challenge, you know, but it has been kind of the guiding force of my career is making sure that they have what they need, and that we are that we're respecting them, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.